He came to the Moon Palace with one thing in his mind. And this is what really matters, and it should be said plainly before anything else softens it. He did not come for her. He came because there was a bow, a lunar weapon, the bow of arbitration, the one that could tear the heavens open. A weapon that could end his war in an afternoon if the right hand drew it. And because only one hand in all the realms could draw it, and it belonged to the goddess of the moon and night sky, the choice was simple. You could not steal the bow. He had looked into stealing it. It answered to her and to no one else, and if he wanted, he would have to want it through her, which meant he would have to get close to her, which meant he would have to become someone she would let close. So he put himself amidst lunar attendants. Not a lord, not a suitor, not a god, those she would have seen through and turned away at the gate. An immortal attendant, a minor thing, a demigod of no particular standing, the sort that filled the lowered halls of the palace and carried what needed carrying, and were never once looked at directly. He put his real name away somewhere deep, and took a smaller one, and went to work among the staff of the moon, and he was patient, because he had time, and because the plan was good, and it was worth it to put himself lower, if that could bring a chance to stop the endless slaughter. The plan required only that he make himself useful, make himself pleasant, make himself gradually indispensable, and wait for her to notice him. Goddesses notice what serves them. It was, he thought, a matter of months at most. It was not a matter of months. Or, and this was worse, he came to understand, she noticed him exactly as much as she noticed the furniture and no more, and had filed him accordingly, and would not be revisiting the file. He set about changing the file. He found her a brush, not just any brush. He spent a foolish amount of effort on it, a thing of white wolf hair and a jade handle cold as deep water, the kind of object a person keeps for a century. He left it where she would find it, and she did. She used it to prop open a window that was sticking, and then never looked to see where it had come from. He found her books, rare ones, old ones, the sort that did not exist in more than 3 copies across the realms, on subjects he had noticed, because by now he was noticing everything about her for professional reasons, as he told himself, that she lingered over. He arranged for them to arrive in her hands. They did. She read them. She did not ask who sent them, because it did not occur to her that anyone had. He arranged the moonlight, and this took real work, bending the light in the western courtyard so that on a particular night it would fall through the plum branches in a pattern worth stopping for. She stopped for it. She stood in the courtyard and looked up at the pattern he had spent a week arranging, and said to no one, to the air, "The branches have grown in nicely," and went inside. He stood in the shadow of the colonnade and put his face in his hand and laughed at himself. Here is the thing that the plan had not accounted for. He had expected to perform closeness and feel nothing. That was the whole art of the disguise, to seem to court while the heart stayed cold and busy at its real work, which was the bow, always the bow. He was good at seeming. He has seemed his way in and out of 100 rooms across a long life. But you cannot spend a year studying someone that closely, noticing what she lingers over, learning the temperature she likes her tea, arranging a week of your existence around the hope of one look, and have it stay a performance. Attention is not a neutral act. It does something to the one who pays for it. He had set out to make her notice him, and had, without deciding to, spent a year noticing her in enormous and useless detail, and somewhere in the accumulation of a disguise that stopped being a disguise and started being the truth, and he had not felt the moment it turned, because there was no moment. It was all the moments. It was the brush, and the books, and the branches, and the half-degree changes in the temperature of a room he learned to read as well as she did. He still wanted the bow. He told himself he still wanted the bow. He was, by then, lying to a god who could hear a lie 3 sentences early, except the god was himself, and he had gotten very good at the disguise. But he also wanted to bring the life into her life. That seemed to be so empty and lonely, the more he looked at it. He wanted to show her the colors of the world beyond the lunar palace. He wanted her to see the life and cherish it. Right now, all he saw was a statue capable of moving around. Yet sometimes, the way she looked longingly into the horizon, the way she played or sung her tunes, that made him think that there's more than meets the eye. She, for her part, had noticed him in the first week. This is the thing he did not know, and would not know for a long time, and which she would have died before telling him. She had noticed and had recognized the too still quality in him, the slip, the god under the smaller shape. She knew he was not what he said he was. She did not know what he was, which was rare enough to be interesting, and she was a being who had been alive a very long time and was interested in very little at this point. So she watched him. She used his ridiculous perfect brush to prop a window, and felt the quality of it, and knew exactly what it had cost him to find, and propped the window with it precisely because she knew. She read his impossible books and said nothing. She stood under his arranged moonlight and made him remark about the branches, and walked inside and did not let one flicker of it reach her face, and was, the entire time, more delighted than she had been in ages. Because she had been built with a heart that was not supposed to move, and hers moved. And she had spent her whole long existence disguising that it moved, performing the serene emptiness the position required, the goddess who feels nothing and therefore judges cleanly. It was the oldest disguise in the realm, and she had worn it for so long it had fused to her. And here was someone wearing a disguise too, courting her through a mask, and it delighted some deep buried part of her to answer his mask with her own. Two costumed things circling each other in a moonlight palace, each certain they were the only one pretending. She let him chase. She was very good at being chased, because everyone wanted to be on her good side. Everyone made very clear their advances. She dismissed them all. But he never tried to be seen. He tried to make a difference. It came apart in the end, the way these things do, over something small at a wrong hour. A lot happened in a very short time, but it made them both admit their role. I thought that if I moved that icy heart of yours, you would appreciate what I've done along the way more. Words that any girl would be delighted to hear, but it's been their 4th hour of arguing, and just before he said a few things about wanting to make her happy. You can't think that you can be the only source of happiness in my life. I am my own person. Just because I appreciate something not coming from you does not mean I don't appreciate what you did. One could say that they were not meant to be. The problem was somewhere else. None of them were taught how to feel things and how to act on them. And feelings just happened to them, and now they had to figure out the mess before the mess would take over them if they were to dress the cat that just got thrown out of the bag. They argued. She said you came here for the bow, because she had worked that out too, somewhere along the way, and he did not deny it because he could not lie to her, not directly, not anymore, and he said I did, and then he said the harder thing, the true thing, which was I did, and then I stopped. And she did not believe him, and he did not blame her, and it should have ended there. But it did not. That is the whole improbable point of it. She knew he had come to use her. She knew the courtship began as a lever. She had every reason for sense and self-protection to send him out at the gate and bar it. But she didn't. She kept him. The long disguised, badly lying, absurdly patient truth of him. She set down her disguise a fraction, just enough, and let him see that she had noticed the brush, the books, the branches, all of it, from the very first week. And he understood then that the treasure he'd come to steal had been watching him fumble toward her the whole time, entertained, and had let him, and that she was engaged into the plot as much as he was. Neither of them said most of this. Gods don't. They said a lot more than any other of the gods would ever say, though. Long after, when they wanted to be no one for a while, they went down the mortal realm. That is where this ends. Not because the story ends here, but because this is the part worth keeping and the rest can just wait outside the door. They found a hill with a single tree on it, in a country that did not know either of their names, under a sky where the moon was just the moon and answered to no one. She sat in the grass, with her back against the trunk, and he lay with his head in her lap, which was not a thing a god of his standing would ever have permitted himself, and which he permitted himself now with his eyes shut and the whole weight of a long war set down somewhere over the horizon. She was cursing him gently. This was how she showed it, by then a low, steady stream of insult with no venom in it at all. You absolute fraud. A year of moonlight. Do you know how much moonlight you could have simply get by saying good morning? And he was smiling with his eyes closed. And every so often he would answer, "You would have turned me away at good morning." Then she would say yes, and neither of them would stop smiling. After a while she sang, some old song the country below them had made up and forgotten it made up, a tune with no clear beginning that would happily never end. Her fingers were in his hair. The tree moved a little in a warm wind. The moon she had tender, her whole existence hung above them both, off duty, and for the length of one mortal night neither of them was disguising anything at all. And this is where we leave them, under the tree, his head in her lap, the moon in the sky, and no one needing anything from either of them.